Now on our next organizational highlight, and I'm very excited about this one. So we have the Arizona Children's Association joining us. Asa Yeager is going to share a little bit about the organization, what they do, all that good stuff. And so Asa, we'd love to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what the Arizona Children's Association does.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Asa. I'm a recruiter here over at our agency. I started out as a behavior coach originally with our agency, and then I moved into a recruiting role. So I have a behavioral health background, and continuing my education to become a therapist as well. So it kind of showcases type of goals that we have here as an agency to help and support employees to career growth. But about our agency, we are actually one of the oldest and largest behavioral health and child welfare agencies here in Arizona. We started out in 1912, basically when Arizona became a state, in Tucson as an orphanage for neglected and dependent children. And over the years, we've kind of seen the need, as everyone else has, for mental health and behavioral health needs, and started to move just from our facility of an orphanage from Tucson to now servicing the different counties of Arizona with services such as like foster care, case management, and other supports for children and families. So just have been a great support for over 40,000 children, youth, and families over the year, and just happy to be here as a support.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you for you and your organization for the work that you do. I know that it's just so critical to have these support systems and these, different groups in place throughout Arizona to make sure our kids are okay. So thank you for the work that your organization is doing. So tell me, what are the types of roles that you all are looking to fill today in your booth? Who do you need to talk to? Who do you want to talk to?
Yeah, absolutely. We're here for just, passionate people that have like a background in behavior health, whether it's like psychology degrees, sociology degrees, human services degrees, and just having that willingness to kind of step into a role that maybe if they don't feel fully comfortable, but they want to support the community in some way. We have several positions. If people are like confused or they don't really know what it's like to be in human services, our case managing positions are always a great fit for that, because you get to step into a role where you get to familiarize yourself with the different resources in your community. I just give the example of like, if you were a case manager and a child is, it happens, but kids are beating up kids in like preschool or in kindergarten. You'll find out, oh, there's actually therapeutic boxing that you can be put into. There's these different avenues, equine therapy, where like kids are working with animals to have therapeutic approaches for dealing with their behaviors. As a case manager, you get to familiarize with those different resources and support families in those ways. But looking at different avenues, if people were previous teachers that are working with little kids, we have positions that work with families of newborns, like 0 to 5-year-olds, who just need that extra support of like, how do I parent a 0 to 5-year-old? I don't have that familiar support that other people do. And you coming in as a parent educator to help and support them. And then a range of other services like foster care and adoption for home studies and getting those placements in there, as well as several admin positions for programs. So if someone has a lot of experience in this field, we have had some recent openings for supervisor and admin positions, and just a lot of different opportunities that we have here at the agency. So always helpful, and I encourage anyone to look at our roles and find a great fit.
I love what you're saying about the case manager position, just that you get to kind of understand a little bit more about what services are available. And, I think I'm definitely an advocate of going and getting more skill sets that you can add to your toolkit, regardless of where your career path takes you. So I love the idea that, you mentioned already career pathing and being able to really develop yourself. So when you think about it from the candidate's perspective, so what are the things that you think candidates should be asking of prospective employers? What should they be, finding out before they actually take a role with an organization?
I always say, like, be transparent with your future employer. I'm the recruiter. It's a two-way street. I have an interview to figure out if this is a great fit for our agency, but you're also figuring out as the person applying, is it a good fit for you? Does it match with your values? Does it match with your culture and your expectations that you have for yourself? I always have that conversation with them, whether they have that opportunity in like a phone screen or they have that opportunity in the interview. Just get that out of the way so that we can understand like, hey, what is it that you're passionate about, so that we can kind of as a recruiter before an interview, I talk with supervisors. So being able to tell people like, hey, this is what they kind of told me in the phone screen. This is what they're passionate about. It sets up a good atmosphere of like, okay, this is what they're passionate about. This is what's important to them. Let's cater to some questions to kind of hear more about what that passion looks like. But just asking questions about like, what does our culture look like? Like for us, we're spread around all Arizona. So just asking like, hey, in this specific site, what's some things that you guys done in the past, events that you've done to keep a community together, not just maybe with the clients, but also as employees, supervisors, admins? How do we all get together and, kind of work with each other on that? So those are just some things I always kind of suggest in those areas.
I love that. And I think, one of the things that I always want candidates to make sure that they're coming with questions. So, I think that's one of the things that we sometimes you'll get in an interview and you'll give them that opportunity. And so making sure you have some questions, and that, this was mentioned in a couple of the other sessions, doing some research on the organization. So, what are those values and, where do you fit into those values, all that good stuff. So I'd love it. Thank you so much for that. When you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion in your organization, what are the things that you're focused on? What are the things that are critical for your organization?
Absolutely. And it really starts with our mission statement, which is protecting children, empowering youth, and strengthening families. This mission statement kind of means that we help every Arizona family, regardless of background, to be safe, strong, and resilient. And as a child welfare and behavioral health agency, we are one of those resources to help that vision of seeing that safe, strong resilience in these families. So with all that being said, we have a rich history that includes diversity. We want to make sure that our employees are as diverse as the families we serve. So we were an agency that was founded by a group of women before women were even able to vote. So originally as the orphanage, the group of women founded the orphanage to help and support these neglected and dependent children. And also in our history, we're also the first agency to license an LGBTQ plus family to adopt in the state of Arizona. So we have kind of a rich background of what diversity looks like and kind of be at the forefront for change. So that's kind of what we've looked like and what that kind of passion has instilled into our actions here at the agency.
Awesome. Why do you stay at Arizona Children's Association?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of different types of people who work here. I think when you think of human services, you think of like one-track mind people of only like helping and serving in one area, whether it's psychology, it's scientific, it's all these things. When I was a behavior coach, a lot of my coworkers were just having different aspects of like passions and interests, and that's what makes them relational. Like you have to have a relational agency to be working with these people relationally. You want to make sure that people are feeling comfortable. For foster care and adoption, like you're going into homes asking really tough questions to make sure it's a good fit for these placements. And if you can't relationally talk to people, build these kinds of like foundations with people from different backgrounds, values, and cultures, you're kind of missing the point there. So I think the thing that I stay here for is that foundation is still there of like, hey, like we need to be relational and we want to be that support. We're meeting you where you are. This is a tough situation that you're in, but this is like the good that's come out of it if you just let us, talk to you and, encompass you into this type of service. So I think that's a great reason why we kind of come in here for that.
I love that. And I think that's something that, is just as a job seeker, being able to be in an organization where, hey, they want to have folks that represent the communities they serve. They want to have folks that can come in. And like you said, some of these situations might not be the most comfortable or the easiest to overcome. And so being able to be that, support system, that person that can help in whatever the circumstances are, I think that's great. So it sounds like this will definitely take folks that have that empathy, that have that, strong ability to really be that partner and help in the organization. So I love that. So when you think about programs that you have for an inclusive culture to really ensure that your culture is inclusive, what are some programs that you all have?
Yeah, so we have a diversity and inclusion committee that we have here at the agency, and the committee kind of meets to make sure that we establish processes to help not only to meet the needs of our clients for whatever situation is happening in their lives, because we're trying to keep a track of any changes, whether it's legal or just things that we see in the culture that's kind of changing, but just to be more authentic when it comes to having that foundational support for our clients and for our employees as well. So to give an example, we've kind of focused more on our benefits side recently for like our employees to help them be like welcome and support for all employees. So some of these benefits will look like domestic partner benefits for same and opposite sex, gender affirming care and transition, mental health care benefits for everyone who needs it when they need it most. Just to name a few of like how we've kind of had to adapt and see what the needs are as things change, society changes, culture changes, and just help and support both our clients and our employees in these times of change.
That's amazing. And I think, if, I would love to scream that from the rooftops of how critical that is, not just for, hey, here's our current population, but who are we trying to target as well? And who are we trying to bring into the organization that maybe isn't represented today? And so having those benefits in place, and I think it just speaks to, if you don't need those benefits, still being in an organization and you can say, we have these for those folks that maybe need it, or that, that need that support. That's such an amazing thing to be a part of an organization that thinks about that stuff and cares about that stuff. So thank you again for offering those things to folks, because I think sometimes they're just overlooked, or it's, oh, well, we don't have anyone that needs that here today,
Right.
but who you might want to recruit or who you might want to bring into the organization. So tell me what are the things when you think about as a job seeker, what are some tips that you would share with the folks that are visiting the different booths today of what they should be asking and how they should be selling themselves to the different organizations that they're speaking to?
Absolutely. I always think one of the things is just if you have volunteer experience or community involvement, always include it into like your resume or in your conversations. You never know what we're looking at and looking for. We want to see that you're passionate about something like that. If you have an extensive volunteer experience, I can't tell you how many times I've actually talked to people and they have like 8 years of volunteer experience that they don't put on their resume, but then they come up in the interview. I'm like, why didn't you tell me this before? So if you have any of that volunteer experience, don't be afraid, talk about it. We never know who's checking you out and seeing what's going on. So if you have that there, you can have that relationship that gets built there. Ask questions about what matters most to you. If you really want like an employer that's excited about you, you also want to be excited about this new opportunity as well from beginning to end. As a recruiter, I'm also here getting your documents. So, if I hire you and everything for that like week, 2 week span, I want to make sure that you're still passionate about this type of position. So I want to make sure it's a good fit for you, and asking those questions of like, hey, I'm still passionate even with these 2 weeks of submitting documents and getting you ready for onboarding. So just really ask those questions that are pertaining to your values and your benefits that you are looking for, so that we know how to best help you. And kind of share a little bit about what you know about us as an agency. Go on our website. We have our rich history on there that you can kind of see and diagnose all the little details about how we came to be and everything. And just incorporating small details like that in your interviews or phone screens is always great and impressive for us, because not everyone really looks at your website or kind of like sees like your background that you have as an agency. So being able to like bring that stuff up in the middle of your interview and tie it into your experience, it's just a compound thing that really showcases you're interested in this position, you're kind of tied in. Let's get you going and see more about what that passion looks like. So I would say those are the 3 top things I would look out for.
I love all 3 of those, and I think they're very critical to make sure that you have to find if it's the right organization for you. And so being able to ask questions, being able to push on some of the things that are critical for you, and asking about benefits, asking, showing interest, going out like the old hey, just Google the company and learn a little bit about them, because that will help inform what questions you should ask or what things you're curious about. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that makes it a very different conversation when you can say, oh, hey, I see that you've done X, Y, and Z and during the history of your organization. That makes it a very different conversation than just, hey, tell me about what you all do, and not knowing anything walking into the interview. So, it takes a few minutes. It's not like it takes hours and hours when you're going in and checking things out. So when we talk about, fit, when we talk about being in an organization, one of the things that I think is really critical is the values of an organization and making sure that you're aligning to those values. So how do you personally, or what are you looking for from a job seeker? What are they going to be asking? What should they be talking about to make sure it's a good values fit?
That's a great question. When I think of values for our agents, we have like values of our foundations for success, like code of conduct. All those things are like our HR policies that follow through with it. But when we look at values, you want to look at actions that we showcase. And like I talked about before with our committees, like showcasing a value that we have for inclusion, even for people that, coming into the future, that they're seeing that these benefits are now something that they can look for and have like a way of living, because people don't think, oh, domestic partner benefits, oh, that's not for me, but oh yeah, but there's actually a group of people that actually really need that, and it's not supported, and it's actually really tricky to get those kinds of benefits for other companies. So really putting your actions to your values and showcasing like how are we involved in the community, how are we servicing different things. I know in the past that we've helped like I think it's like statewide adoption day. So everyone goes to like the courts and like gets adopted, and like we as an agency go and volunteer there and coordinate, bounce houses, like reaching out to the community in those ways of just being there at the court, celebrating them for those adoptions. So I just say values really coincide with actions. I can say all I want about values, but you can look at the actions we have as an agency, which is more encouraging for you to look up your agency before applying to see really
Right.
like what is it that we're doing, so that when you see and I talk about the values that we have here as an agency, it's not me just talking, you also understand, oh, that makes sense. They did this action, they did this community outreach. So just to combine it all together.
I think that's such a good perspective, because I think that's one thing that you sometimes forget, or what are those things, like what a celebration it is, I'm sure, for all of you to be able to go to that adoption day
Yeah.
and be able to see kind of like your hard work pay off, and see, these very, success stories and these celebrations, because what a great and joyous time that is for families that are finally able to close the loop and make everything official, make everything legal. That's awesome. So love it. So folks, if you are interested in joining the Arizona's Children's Association, please stop by their booth and talk to Asa. Any last words you'd like to say to anyone listening in?
I'm just excited to talk with passionate people. If you're just interested, see what it looks like for you. If you're interested in human services, it doesn't hurt to just submit a resume for us to review and see if it would be a great fit for you. So I'm just excited.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, folks. Stop by their booth, and we will be back shortly with our last company highlight. But Asa, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.